Okay, greetings everybody. Rome, brother, hello.
How's it, Dave?
How you doing, man?
Great. Can't complain. Yeah.
Nice. You look good, man. The dreadlocks are. It's working. It's working.
Rastafari.
um. So yeah, for those who are watching and listening, this is a dear friend and brother and fellow Rome, and yeah, we've shared some times together, not too much time, but good quality time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
In kind of deep learning spaces around movement and meditation and mindfulness and yoga and these kinds of things. Um, and I've asked Rome to come on to share a little bit of insight um, into not so much. I mean, of course, we're going to discuss things like movement and meditation and whatnot, but more around being a parent. And Rome's got two little dear ones who he can tell us more about. But the main reason I wanted to do this is because, you know, I turned 30 this year. There's definitely
Old
some
man.
there's definitely some interesting ideas, conversations, and questions that start coming up. And
Yeah.
I've had my own ideas and beliefs around parenting and children and marriage and monogamy and all these interesting things. And I thought it could be a cool topic to discuss. There's a lot of guys and ladies our age who maybe have already got children or are thinking of having children or also have young children. It's a fascinating time to be alive, to be raising kids. And we're not talking with a
Totally.
child expert or I don't even know what you'd call it, but we're talking about talking with someone who's in it. So,
Yeah.
brother Rome, what do you think and feel about all of that?
Yeah. I guess when you were speaking now, I just got the feeling of how important this topic is actually in this time, because it's, this whole, you know pandemic slash plandemic that's going down, the whole, everybody questioning everything, and everybody kind of making brave moves and changing their lives, and some people being more fearful, but some people being much more courageous. It's a good time to really look at what we want, and parenting, and how you bring up your kids is so important in that, because especially in those first 5 years of their lives, it's super important. It is the basis of who they will become. So it's very like on my mind these days, because Mayu is 3 years old, Noah is 6 weeks old, and we've just been through an incredible birth, super empowering birth, and but it's like, it's hectic going through it, during
Sure, man.
this this era, or this whatever this phase is of
Yeah,
humanity's
yeah,
unfolding. So yeah, to me, it was just like, whoa, this is actually such an important topic. I was just like, hey, I'm just here to talk about being a dad,
yeah,
but it's important. We have to really be conscious and be aware of the steps that we take in this
yeah.
time, because our kids will always look back at this time and be like, I mean, for my kids, they're going to be shaped in this time. They are being shaped in this time.
Mm.
And everyone's going to look back on this time and be like, what happened?
Mm.
You know,
For sure, man. Yeah, it's Noah. Noah born
Noah.
born during the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a fascinating time to be alive, man, and
Mm,
it's so humbling, it's so confusing, and I think
yeah.
I can already sense, and always our conversations and what we shared have always brought about, I guess, more questions than answers, you know, and in that there's kind of more maybe contentment and humility in the questions instead of like fear. And, you know, I know you don't have it all figured out. I don't have it all figured out. I don't know anyone who does, you know. And we're looking to a lot of our leaders at this time. And um, it's hard, man. It's hard to find people who we like, oh, wow, like they're setting the example, you know, and look at what they've done and look at um, how they're doing things for themselves and their children and their communities. And it's a strange time to be alive. So, you know, you've got these two little ones looking up to you. And like you said, in the first 5 years, you know, children don't have these ideas of, you know, governments or power or, you know, even school. It's very much that close family unit. So what are like some of the things that I mean, and at the same time, you can't cotton wool your children. You can't, like, you know, protect them from the chaos of life. But what are some of the things that you find yourself kind of dancing between in managing, you know, that space and you know, your home basically?
Mm. With respect to like the outside world, you mean the government and what's happening,
Well,
or
well, well.
just anything?
No, just around, like, you know, providing a safe space, you know, for your
Oh yeah.
kids. Like,
Mm.
I can imagine, you know, the instinct is to be incredibly protective, you know, particularly
Yeah.
with what's going on now. But it's like,
Yeah.
how do you manage that? You know, how do you, like, okay, well, we can't become, you know, paranoid, but, and we got to do our thing. So it's just like,
Yeah.
and while maintaining your life, your business, your work, you know.
Mm.
I'm,
Exactly. Yeah. So, firstly, I mean, I'm just gonna be completely honest, and the whole Corona thing, when it first happened, my wife was, I mean, we're not married. My partner,
mm,
we engaged to be married. Um, Nicole, she was, what was it, like 2 months or less than 2 months pregnant when the whole thing came to South Africa,
mm,
and we spent 2 weeks being completely just, I guess, panicked in it was the word, because I was like, it was also such a fragile time. The first 3 months of pregnancy is the most fragile time. It's the first trimester, so things very often can go wrong, and you know, you should just be easy during that time.
mm,
Um, and we didn't know what the effect of the whole virus and all things could be, and we just were taking all the precautions. Like I went and bought like 50 kgs of brown rice and lentils, and and I was wearing masks everywhere, I had gloves, I had goggles, all that stuff to try and go get all the things that we needed. I took time off from my business. I told them, guys, I have to just stay home during this time because I don't know what's happening. I just want to just make sure that we're safe. And we spent 2 weeks kind of in this kind of state. And then after that, something like, we kind of went deeper into intuition. And, you know, I obviously have a strong meditation practice that's been going on for 10 years or so now. And I just fell into that, and I was like, I can't do this frantic,
mm.
fearful thing. And, you know, I mean, a lot of it was my partner was feeling that fear, and I was just like, I have to protect, I have to make sure that she's okay, da, da, da.
Sure, sure.
And, you know, fell back into my practice for support, and came to the conclusion that this is not my way of dealing with this problem at all.
Mm,
um, and something happened. I can't remember where she switched as well. Eventually, it went at some point, and she was just like, "No." can't do this either. And then I told her, from now on, we're going to pretend like there's no corona.
Mm-hmm.
At my house, there's no corona. Mentally,
Mm-hmm.
and emotionally, we were just like, no, we're not there. We're here, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone was locking down anyway. So mentally, that's the how we tried to create a space. And we did our research and everything else, and I just made sure that our immune was high, which is we were on our vitamins. I was doing my breath work every day. She was doing her yoga and just also staying healthy. And that's all we focused on, was just making sure we feel good. And for me, that was a big way to protect my daughter at the
Right.
time from because what I saw the biggest threat was this fearfulness, which can be so harmful to a child, and I needed to protect her from that more than anything else.
Mm.
So we did that just by choosing our reality, choosing what we gave power to, and we gave power and focus in, and we went off social media for a while, and we just focused on being happy and feeling good, looking at our dreams, looking at our purpose in life, looking at what we love, being creative at home, doing things with Mayu, creating things. And we just went into that, and that changed the whole game for us.
Mm.
In that time, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we just did that, and we pretended like there was no corona. So that brought that to mind. Now, in the beginning, we did that, and it helped a lot. And I still kind of pretend like it's not here. And it's not because I'm denying it. It's just I know that for my mental health, it's best. And honestly, I don't believe in the severity of the thing and the hype and the media and
Yeah,
the
sure.
testing and the masks. I don't believe in any of this stuff. I believe in yoga, and I believe in breath work, and I believe in raising your vibration to be healthy.
Mm.
That's all I believe in. And disease starts in the mind.
Mm.
So I came from that point of view, and just try to teach my daughter that,
Mm. Mm.
the inner reality creates the outer form.
Mm.
And that's so yeah, for me, like, starting off is just is having the right beliefs and the right mindset around how to equip your child, my child, our children, with the right foundation
Mm.
for being healthy human beings, being happy human beings,
Sure,
and
man.
that means that you believe in your own ability to heal yourself first
Mm.
and foremostly, and you are, as human beings, we're powerful, man.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
So
an interesting point there, just with like, I know kids. I mean, all humans are, we're super impressionable, we're super sponge-like. But I mean, kids are
mm,
just completely feeling off those vibes, and how, if you freaked out and panicking and like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, and like checking your phone every,
mm,
10 minutes, and the TV's on, and like, they're going to
yeah,
feel that, and they're going to
yeah,
sense that there's fear and there's confusion, and which is fine. It's totally normal. It's not, no one is perfect. And
mm,
um but yeah, I mean, I find that whenever I've, hung out with kids, it's just like they just like, they copy you, they mimic you, they say what you say, they say how you
mm,
say it, they move how you move. um and it's I would imagine that that transition would have been super important for her to just kind of be like, oh, okay, everything's okay now. Or you know mom and dad are like doing their thing. um
mm, mm.
so I mean, do you is she, you said she's 3, hey? So
Yeah.
there's no schooling yet, or is there? Or like a like a, what's your what's your kind of
Yes.
thinking around that?
So it's weird. Like, yeah, even before I knew that I wanted to even get married and stuff. Um, and maybe a bit of a backstory on around Mayu, how Mayu came about was, myself and Nicole, we were traveling, we were in China, and we were about to go off to Japan and just travel more. We were teaching English at the time, and then Nicole fell pregnant, and it's like boom, okay, the whole story. But before that, I knew that I didn't want my kids to go to this type of school that I had been to.
Mm,
I felt, uh, I guess I connect with being kind of a sensitive person or kind of empathic, and being very affected by other people, other people's energy and other people's emotions. And it just, I went to all boys school, and it was, I think it did a lot of almost damage that I had to undo for many years after that.
sure.
So I didn't know of any school that I thought was good. So I just had told myself, listen, if I don't find the right schooling for my child going forward, I'm going to just do homeschooling. I like the idea of homeschooling,
Sure.
and I always felt like, just learning um, about the mind and learning about life and nature and stuff, I can teach my child that.
Mm,
um and my partner was, she's had a big interest in teaching kids as well, so I was like, why not just do it ourselves?
mm,
Yeah, I had a kind of a distrust for public schools, or not just the schooling system in general.
sure.
Sitting in a classroom, listening to the teacher,
Yeah, man.
that whole thing, discipline, yeah, tests, don't like it. I don't. It just never resonated with me. Um, I always had scored really highly in these like aptitude tests, but like I wasn't very good at taking tests. Like I would get extremely stressed out. My body would take a huge knock every time there was an exam or a test. Like
Mm,
it was quite intense for me. I did okay. I passed my things, and made it through university, but it was incredibly stressful for me.
mm,
I never felt like I'm enjoying this learning process.
yeah.
you know Not like, and when I started doing meditation, yoga, movement with people like you, I was like, wow, this is a real learning process, and I'm enjoying this learning process,
Mm,
and I'm really really enjoying this learning process. So I was like, things don't have to be that way, man.
yeah.
So there must be a better way. And then during my pregnancy, I met some people who had been through the Waldorf schooling system.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked what they had to say about it and stuff. So and when Maya was born, Nicole, we registered Nicole to learn the early childhood development of the Waldorf system, which there's an amazing school here in Cape Town
Mm-hmm.
for the Center for Creative Education. And she did that for the next 2 years. And
Oh, wow.
obviously Maya was still, yeah, so she completed that degree or diploma, I don't know what it was, and
Mm-hmm.
she's qualified in that. So we actually believe that it's not necessary. And Rudolf Steiner, who created Waldorf schooling system, said the same thing, that it's not necessary to send the child. It's actually best is to keep the child in the family with the mom until she or he is 7 years old.
Mm,
Um, so no schooling is necessary. They'll learn everything they need to know from you just by observing you.
totally. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
don't doubt that at all, man. I mean, there's so many interesting things to explore there. The um uh you know, I just remember I I I I struggle with regret or resentment, and um it's actually this morning I was reading a book, um and it said, it made this example of problem solving, and it referenced algebra and like
uh,
solving for x, and like I had this like flashback of being at school, and I loved school. Like, I made the most of it. There's a lot that I didn't enjoy, and there's a lot that I look back. Like I said, I don't have I don't want to have resentments or regret about it, but I really, really loved it. But I'm just like, we spent so much time and so much energy doing things that we didn't even know why we were doing it or what it was for. We didn't understand the learning process. That, like, very fortunately for me, I had a few teachers who were incredibly, they were like real teachers, you know, and they taught us to think for ourselves and to question and to, you mentioned discipline, to understand the importance of discipline and structure, not because you're being told to do something, but so that you can apply it in your process and, you know, do what you need to do and get done what you need to get done. And but it's like, oh dude, we spent 12 years like doing certain things that it's like, what is the relevance, you know, like seriously, man.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for
it's like,
sure, bro.
look around, look at the world, look around, everybody, look
Yeah,
around. Like,
yeah.
what do we need more of? Like, what could we be learning? Could we be learning about, you know, the kind of like, um, could we be learning how to grow our own food? Could we be learning how, you know, how water systems work? Could we be learning about renewable energy? Could we be learning how to manage our own nervous system and learn about our nervous system? Could we learn how to, you know, focus our minds and our attention? And I did learn some of that stuff. I definitely did. Um, and again, I think it's because I'm very grateful for my parents and the upbringing that I had. And so I had a certain approach and attitude, you know, with whatever situation I found myself in. But on the whole, man, what's going on in schooling is scary. It's very scary. And,
Yeah.
you know, more and more of the stuff is popping up. Obviously, the, you know, alternative things like Waldorf, but there's another one opening up in Franschhoek, actually, called the Green School,
Right. Yes.
which at first I was like, the rates don't seem too bad, but it's often like a lot of these schools, because they're alternative and they're like niche and they've got like, you know, then
Yeah.
the rates are the fees are really high. And it's like, dude, the majority of this country and a lot of people on the planet don't have access to
Can't
these
afford
things
that.
because they're so expensive, and it's such a vicious cycle. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but it just brought up those things while you were talking about it. I think something to maybe focus on a little bit more of what we can actually take care of and influence. So you said, like, you know, what your kids will learn from you and how impressionable they are.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk a bit more about Mayu, because she's 3. Um,
Yeah.
what are some of the changes you've seen over the years, and like as she's starting to develop her identity and her ego and her relation to you and her mom and, you know, family and like the world? What are some of the things you've noticed, and how have you like tried to maybe guide her to thinking for herself for these kinds of things?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So with Mayu, yeah, Mayu is an incredible girl. Yeah, she just had this kind of calmness about her from the beginning. But and I don't know if it is because of my practice that I've done with her. But she really had this kind of very calm energy growing up, and then she started to develop social kind of behavior and noticing attention, how much attention she gets and how much attention she doesn't get, or how different people treat her differently and how she is in front of strangers, etc. So just observing all those things, and I think because of the training, Nicole's training, and she obviously teaches me stuff, we realized, there's temperaments. Everybody has temperaments, and in the Waldorf system, they teach the different temperaments. It's like there's a melancholic, there's sanguinic, there's choleric, and something else. And Mayu, we realized, has a bit of a melancholic thing, which is, it's just more like they're slower. They like to just do fine things. They like to play with things with fine details. They can sit and do one thing for many hours. Um, and they have a tendency towards like being sad, maybe sometimes, and using almost sadness to get an attention. Just be like, Mom, and hanging in the face and pulling the face, and I'm not feeling well, Mom. Or look, I hurt myself. That kind of thing. That's the sanguine temperament. I'm not sanguine, the melancholic temperament, and it's very cute. But and she has a balance though, because she can be extremely vibrant and extremely happy and run around dancing and singing for like hours at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she's very vibrant, but we picked up along the way that she has this kind of temperament. So at first I was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want it to be sad, or all of those things. And then I realized that that's just how she is.
Sure.
And I think the main thing as a parent is accepting your child, and also noticing. The main thing when it comes to emotional development is realizing that they're constantly reacting to your energy. So whatever your energy is on the day, they're going to react. Their energy can be very much based on that, or in reaction to that, or to how much attention they aren't getting from you. And so with Maya, it would generally go into that kind of, I'm not feeling well today, Dad, if she wants my attention, or, I don't know how to build this Lego. It's like that kind of thing, which is so funny because she doesn't say Lego, she says let it go. Like, this is my let it go airplane. I'm like, Dad, I don't know how to build this let it go airplane.
Just let it go.
Just let it go. Like, of course you do, babe, And anyway, so I guess what I've realized is that just being present and listening is the best response that I can give, rather than trying to guide too much, or trying to just making sure that my energy is clear, and I'm not in reaction. Is the biggest thing is the biggest gift that I can give her, because then she can feel for herself. She doesn't have to react to my emotions. You know what I mean? Because literally that's how you are their world as a parent. You are, especially the mom though, but dad as well, because I've been a stay-at-home dad. I've been working from home mostly for most of for the past 3 years. So I'm also a big role, and you are their world emotionally. If you are strong, then they're strong, and and sometimes it just takes time. Whatever it is, just takes time. So if they see that you're not reacting, then they will resolve it for themselves.
Sure.
So I think that's my strategy, is just to be as present as I can. And as I said, I use my breath work. So when she was young, and she went through colic, which is baby's digestive system is developing, and they have a lot of pain, and they can't they crunch their bodies like this, and they're just in a lot of pain, and they cry constantly for like 3 months 3 to 6 months, in the first year of their lives. And it doesn't happen to all babies, but it happened to Mayu. And during that time, it was like we were getting like no sleep, and I once again fell into my breath work and my meditation for support, and I started breathing with her, when I would rock her and put her to sleep, and I realized that I can get into that state while walking around with her,
Mm,
and it really helped me deal with the situation, and it helped her also calm down, like in a shorter space of time. It
mm,
felt like so. That was like the big lesson for me. I was like, whoa, this is having an effect. Like my mental state is having an effect on her physical
mm,
state and
mm,
her mental state. And I was like, yo, this is quite something. So I just continued that practice as much as I can. I still breathe with her every night when I put her to sleep. I try to get into a meditative state with her as much as I can, and that's been my strategy from that time,
mm, mm.
and makes a big difference. Yeah,
Sure, man.
yeah.
And yeah, because I mean, I think one of the most interesting things is this kind of idea of pacifying,
Mm, mm,
and
mm.
obviously the big thing that we're seeing with kids is the screens, phones, TV,
Mm, mm,
I mean, I remember watching a lot of television as a kid, and I'm not saying television is bad, all television is bad, or all screens are bad, but this, we very, particularly with cell phones, um, well, not just, I mean, some of the technologies on cell phones, but the general kind of pacification that can happen through um,
mm.
TVs and watching TV and that kind of thing. So do you guys have like, is there sometimes where you just like, you put the cool movie on and they watch a movie, or do you have rules around, not rules, but like guidelines, or um, like what's
Yeah.
your thinking forward with as they grow up and in this age of, technology and information and
Yeah. No, it's a big one. So we have a TV, but we don't. Yeah, so we don't do like actual TV. We just do like Netflix and
mm,
YouTube. But we don't. We just limit it as much as possible.
mm,
Uh, there's a few days a week where there's no TV, and then sometimes just once, yeah, just maybe once in the day, for not a long period of time. And it's a tricky thing because it gives you a break as a parent,
yeah,
because
sure,
they literally just are happy to watch stuff, and it's, to me, it was like, whoa, like the whole world just like stops and they watch the screen, and I'm like, why does that even happen, you know
mm,
how does that even happen? But
mm,
it's what I realize is, I mean, the same thing happens when you tell them a story, though.
sure, sure.
If you read them a book, the same thing happens. If you're telling the story in a good way, you keep their attention. Um, and I had to learn about that. Storytelling is a big thing. You have to
Yeah,
really understand your tones and your how you bring things across.
sure.
Um, but they love human beings love stories,
Yeah.
and I think that's why they love the TV. Um, so yeah, just trying to limit it as much as possible.
Mm. And I
And
guess,
and and I'm very keen to sell my TV, though. I'm probably going to do that soon, just to see what happens. Because she thrives. Actually, I actually we see the emotional effect, and we planted the seed with her that watching too much TV actually doesn't make you feel good.
mm,
And I just tell her that when she like wants to watch too much, she wants to continue watching
wants to
TV,
keep watching. Yeah.
and obviously, yeah, when you switch it off, then it is a problem. So I started just laying the seed that it would be okay for you to watch TV, but when you watch too much TV, we don't feel so good,
Mm,
which is the truth. So that, I'm hoping, is taking a root,
mm,
and in the years to come, she'll know that.
Sure.
watching too much TV doesn't make me feel good.
It's so
So
tricky, man. I mean,
mm,
again, you try, you limit it and maybe be specific. I mean, there's a lot of great things that
yeah,
because I mean, this is just not the same for kids. This is the same for everyone, right? Like
mm,
we're all trying to
mm,
manage our screen time, whether it's computer, phone, or television. And there's a lot of great things that you can watch,
yeah,
there really is. There's a
yeah.
lot of inspiring, educational, beautiful things that can really have a profound effect and impact. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I remember, dude, as a kid and as a teenager, I played, video games for days, for weeks, like, and it's so weird to look back on it and I'm like, would I have listened? Like, did I listen to my parents? Not really. No, and like, did I know? Is it something that I just had to outgrow? It's very, very interesting, man. Um, so yeah, I mean, of course, it has a place. This is so funny.
It is.
We've got,
Yes,
I don't know if you can see, we've got my friend
I
Jaden
saw that.
is
So
coming in.
someone joined the screen.
That's hilarious.
Okay.
But Jaden
Is he gonna join?
he's also a young parent. Um,
Okay.
but Jaden, your slot for the podcast is next week, man. Jay, hey brother, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, man.
This is Rome.
Hey,
Um,
what's up, man?
but Jay, we just busy with the podcast. We'll chat later.
Okay, cool, man.
All right, lots of love. But you're gonna be on tomorrow. Cheers, dude. That's so funny. Um, yeah, he's also got two little kids. They're the ones who they live in a tiny house and they're actually moving
Oh,
down to the green
sweet.
school next year. Um,
Okay.
but even them, those kids are like out on the farm, planting things, digging things, building things,
Mm,
and they
that's
still,
the way, man.
but they still want the movie, the
It's on the
screen.
screen.
They still want it, man.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah,
you
and I think it's
guys,
okay as long
yeah,
as you're having that balance. As long as you're getting your hands in the dirt, and because it is a part of what we've created, and it actually helps us create more cooler things and more things that we can share with more people. So, and I'm building my new business online, so it's one of those things that we have to really just balance.
yeah,
Balance is the only way forward. So yeah.
totally.
Um, yeah, and yeah, speaking about the green school, yeah, it's interesting because my the lady who helped us birth Mayu and Noah, her name is Caitlin, and she's a local midwife here in Muizenberg, and she was actually one of the people that has been a real big influence in how we've been parenting.
Okay,
We just really looked up to her. She came through the Waldorf system herself. Her kids have grown up in the Waldorf system, and interestingly enough, like now during COVID, the Waldorf schools here in the Western Cape have, I guess there's fear of being shut down, and they are kind of succumbing to the whole thing that everybody has to wear masks in school all the time, and that does go against a lot of the principles that Rudolf Steiner stands for in the world of philosophy, um, in anthroposophy, something like that. I can't remember how you say it.
wow,
Anthroposophy is the philosophy that Rudolf Steiner created.
anthroposophy. Wow, okay,
Anthroposophy. Um, it's a really beautiful philosophy on how to just uh, be healthy as a human being,
hmm,
and develop children and ourselves. So anyway, the mask thing definitely does go against that, but the older schools have decided to implement it and not challenge the thing.
sure,
Obviously, because nobody wants to get shut down. Um, so yeah, yeah, and then we were just speaking about what are what are the other options, right now, because I wouldn't send my child to a school where she has to wear a mask all the day, the whole
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I wouldn't. So we're just speaking about that right now because yeah, even the world of schools right now is not necessarily where if you're thinking in terms of um, in how I think in terms of masks and stuff, and
Sure.
not to say that anything's right, but I that's just my opinion and my belief.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the green school was one of them that came up,
Mm.
and looks pretty good, pretty
Yeah.
promising.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but for me, I think the main thing is that I make sure that my youth comes with me into nature as much as possible. I take
Sure.
it to the beach all the time, to the mountain, and just be there. And we are slowly but surely making our move into a more natural space.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably gonna put our place up for rent soon, and just go see what's available
Sure.
in down the garden route.
Nice, man.
Um, because I want more of that, and that was my principle when I first realized I was having a baby. I was like, well, I need to bring up my children in nature, and we chose Muizenberg because we had that element. We have the
Mm-hmm.
mountain, we have the ocean, and we live in the Marina de Gama, which is on a lake, and there's ducks and there's fish and there's otters
Yeah.
in the water.
Totally.
But it's still very man-made, and I just feel like we would really love our own holding where we can grow all our own food, where we can have our own animals, where we can live in community as well. It's very important
Sure.
to us, and that way she can socialize in a natural way while we are there at the same
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah, man. I think
So
there's a lot of people who are, wanting to make this a reality, and who
yeah,
have the presence and the mindfulness and the the chias, for lack of a better word, to really make it work, and make it happen. Because it's like anything, it's going to require focus and smart work, and it's, for me, it's just like I don't see any other alternative, man. I'm like,
yeah,
it's when I say it's now or never, I mean, when I say now, it is a process of getting there for sure. But it's like, that's the vision,
yeah,
more sustainability, closer to nature, learning certain skills, learning certain crafts, growing your own food, and being that change, being that solution. I really don't see other alternatives. I just
yeah.
don't. But so there was a few things I wanted to chat about. Um, one was the midwife experience, but we'll come back to
Okay,
that. Just remind me if I forget.
right,
So
right.
we were talking about the being present, right, uh, with your children, and um, breathing with them, being mindful of the whole thing, and we've spoken quite a bit about the kind of calming, the importance of calming, and learning about relaxation, and the importance of kind of emotion and these kinds of things, which a lot of kids, like I said, just get pacified, just like dummy or TV or screen. And I know, like, I don't have kids, and so people have been like, Dave, you have no idea what you're talking about. And I know I have no idea what I'm talking about. I said that at the beginning, but I'm just saying, you can't just pacify. The kid maybe the child has, through you, has to
Yes,
learn maybe through you about breathing, about, you know, um,
yes.
finding a sense of calm, which of course nature can bring as well. But the other element that I really wanted to discuss was, and obviously I know you, and we've moved and played a lot together, but this,
Mm,
obviously kids have an abundance of energy, and,
mm.
you know, how have you felt kind of channeling that, playing, um, with, you know, moving with them, and obviously you see their functionality of their joints and their ability to like hold certain postures and positions that we lose, you know, as we get older through our conditioning of sitting, you know, at school or sports, or just also the process of growing.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, what do you, how do you kind of, I mean, I can imagine you super hands-on, and you know, upside down and throwing and catching and rolling around, and you know,
Yeah. I mean, we play, you know, we play. Uh, the biggest thing is obviously they're constantly imitating, as we said, right? So even me just doing my practice, I have a movement practice. You know, I do gymnastics rings. I think when she was between 1 and 2 years old, I was constant. I was doing a lot of wall walks, which is, you know, walking on my hands, my feet going up the wall. I was doing that every day, like a few times a day, and she just started doing it before she was like 2 years old. She started putting her feet on the wall, and she was so. I think just having your own practice, firstly, is so cool and so empowering for them. Like they will just take it on and just create for themselves whatever they feel like, um, and then playing with them. Yeah, like we do like a bit of not acro yoga, but like kind of like
yeah,
I'll
sure.
lie on my back and she'll come sit on my knees, and I'm doing that whole thing, and playing in the grass. You know, the animal locomotion is really nice for kids. They really love that. Um, and she'll go through also motions. Like there was a period where she just didn't want to move with me anymore. Like she wanted to do what her mom was doing. You know, and I think at that point, I was me and her mom weren't moving together that much, and maybe because of that, she didn't want to move with me. You know, so there's that imitation again. So she's imitating her mom on that side of the thing. So um, it's one of those things. It's tricky, and you just play and you just have fun with it. You know, and you know, there was a time when I tried to get her. I was like trying to, okay, come breathe with dad. I feel like let's breathe together. And it was just like, no, I'm not going to breathe with you. You know. And then just the other day, and we bought these really nice books that have breathing exercises in the beginning as well. It's called Snuggle Breathing. So then before we read the book, it's like, okay, take a deep breath in. And at first she was like, no, I'm not going to do this, you know. And then now, you know, a few months later, she does it and she really loves it. Now she's actually now kind of getting into breathing, but she might go through another phase at some point when she's like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. And you just kind of have to be like, do what you feel like doing, you know, and that's okay. And you don't have to imitate me. And that can also
Sure.
be like an ego boost for me. Like, oh, look at my child doing all the things that I'm doing, you know, and I'm so cool. I'm such a great dad. It's like, no, I'm just doing me and she's doing her, and you know, and there's love. And I try to just keep it there. But obviously there is that you want your child to do the things that you're doing, but I try to just, you know, it's a big letting go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you be hands-on, but you also have to be hands-off sometimes, you know.
Yeah, totally, bro.
and
Totally.
they'll surprise you. You know. I was doing exercise the other day, and I think I just posted it on Instagram, and I got surprised by this because she just came there and stood by me, and she wanted to do something with me, and I didn't expect it, because usually whenever I say, come, let's do something with me, she'll be like, no, but she'll want to do it when she feels like doing it, you know. And at this moment, and it was on camera and everything, and she was keen, you know. And I just put my hand on my heart and I started breathing like this, and she just started doing the same thing, and we got it all on camera. And I was just, it was a really cool moment, nice for social media and all of that. But and that's a whole other thing. Do we allow our kids on social media? Do we let them see that? We don't put Mayu's face on social media, but we do allow like her to be there, like with her back facing towards the camera and everything. That's okay. So it's tricky, that whole thing, but I say just having the practice yourself and
Sure.
letting them see you. Don't hide away from them and practice. Like practice right in front of them. And even if they come and bother you, just continue your practice.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah.
to like, and when you take her and to like the beach and the forest, um, I'm sure it's a similar thing. Like maybe sometimes she's like running to the sea and like playing with the sand, or maybe other times she's like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it also, it depends on again, the temperament. So Maya's got her temperament, and that means that when there's other people around, she won't want to do anything. But if it's just me and her, she's probably going to feel much more free. But then also she'll surprise me at times. She surprised us that once we went to a yoga retreat that I was teaching at, and she came with, and a friend of ours was singing on the microphone, and then somebody said, "Okay, Maya, it's your turn," as a joke, and she just ran to the mic
Wow.
in front of like 20, 30 people. And this is someone, and she honestly does not speak to strangers. She just keeps to her, like she'll be quiet if she meets anybody new. She went to the microphone and she just she said, "Okay, I'm ready." And then we put on, what was the song? The Moana song. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Moana?
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I've been told I must watch it.
It's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
And she sang the Moana song. And she was like 2 years old, and she sang in front of 20 people or something like that. So then they just do that. I love it when they surprise you like that. It's just super cool because you're like, wow, like there's no limits, like
Yeah.
what? Don't put them in a box at all, because she can really be whoever she wants to be.
Totally, man. For sure. That's really
Yeah.
cool. And so then the experience with the midwife. So she's been with you for Mayu and Noah now as well.
Yeah.
And you guys, how, like, what was your decision around the birthing process?
The
and
birth.
like, yeah.
So that is a big thing. When we came back from China, I just knew that we didn't want to have a conventional birth. And my father's a doctor, by the way. And he told me as a joke, he's like, "Oh yeah, we can have a home birth. Like he'll do the delivery. Like we can just
Wow.
do it at home." And then I started thinking about home birth, and I was like, "Well, that's actually a cool idea. Like I never thought of that." I just assumed that we have to do it in a hospital, and I didn't know anything about it. So then I went online and started doing research, and found that there was this really like spiritual aspect about birth, and that there is people doing really spiritual methods of birthing. And there was this lady who was actually based in Cape Town, and she had this page called Spiritual Birth. So I checked it out, and then I found out that she was no longer in Cape Town, but she recommended one or two people. And then randomly, I was looking at this yoga studio in town, and came across a doctor who was doing home birthing. And she had a practice with a midwife. There was like a shared practice with this doctor and the midwife. And then found and then we met both of them, loved both of them, amazing women, and chose Caitlin out of the two of them to do the birth. And through her, we learned so much, man, so much. And I call it empowering birth, the empowered birth. It's where the mom leads. She's the guide, or she's the one having the experience, right?
Totally.
So you just follow
Exactly.
her. It's just that everybody else should just give her the space and follow her and protect her and support her. But she says what's what. She says what she's comfortable with. She says when. She says how. And you just give that all the respect that it deserves, because she's actually performing something that's like superhuman. You know, it's like the most incredible thing, most incredible power that we have is just growing another human being inside of you. So it
wild,
baffles
man.
my mind
Yeah,
still.
totally.
Still totally baffles me. And I didn't know what my role is, how I have to do this, and we did a course on it by Robin Sheldon, who is also one of the amazing birth workers from Cape, or who practiced in Cape Town for a long time, but she's also left, and she also trained Caitlin. So yeah, and then we had the home birth experience in Cape Town in a little house in Marina de Gama. And it was life-changing, man. It was life-changing.
Wow.
Because you can't imagine how empowering it is to give birth to your own child in your own home, in your own bedroom, you know, and having the mom lead the whole way. Like they never once told her what to do.
Wow.
They never once said, you need to do this now, or push, or you know, nothing. It was like she led the whole way.
Incredible.
They would just offer things at times, say, can I offer you this right now? Can I offer you that right now? Can I spray this essential oil in the air? Can I read you this affirmation? And
Jeez.
can I and then she would guide it, you know. And there was one moment that was quite significant, and it was her first birth. Obviously she didn't know what she's doing. It's like crazy. And it lasted 12 hours.
What?
And she,
wow,
yeah, which is pretty short in comparison to birth, to other births that have happened.
Wow.
And compared to our second birth, that was very short.
Oh wow.
But there was a moment when she asked Caitlin, like, how much longer? Like, I can't do this anymore. How much longer? Like, when is this going to end? And Caitlin just said, I don't know. It's up to you.
Wow. That's
yeah, it was so cool. I was just like, this is something else.
This is
What's
something
going
else
on here?
What?
And me, I was just trying to stay there, you know. And during that birth, it was very difficult for me to stay present. There was a lot of thoughts happening, a lot of fear coming for me, a lot of things. I didn't know what I was doing either. I just knew I just was supposed to stay there, you know. And you know, you as a man, you feel like you want to leave the room a lot of the time, because you're like, this is so hectic. I just have to sit here and watch her like moan and be in pain and cry for all this time, you know, and hold her hand, kind of thing, and hold her, massage her back and stuff like that. So it's like, very intense. And the second birth was more intense.
Wow.
And lasted 54 hours.
What?
Yeah.
54 hours.
I don't know what was going on.
So it says that was like 2 and a bit days.
Yeah. The labor started, the contraction started. It was a Monday morning, 4 a.m. And the crazy thing was, I had just come back. Remember I spoke to you about Vipassana, that I was going to Vipassana?
Right. Yeah.
I went for 4 days to Vipassana. I came back that Sunday. And then that night, 4 a.m. in the morning, the next day, she started the contractions. And I was going to go to Vipassana for longer, but she told me, no, you need to come back on Sunday. And I was like, okay, I don't agree with this, but I'll come back. And then literally that night, the contraction started, and then Wednesday morning, baby came out.
Wow. And so now this whole process, even like okay, so Noah's birth. So did Nicole sleep at all during that time, or was it no? It's just
I don't think she did, honestly. Like little bits, maybe like an hour or two in that whole time.
What?
Yeah, I slept. I maybe slept maybe 5 hours in that whole time.
Dude,
Um,
that's some of the wildest. That's that's amazing, bro.
mm.
And okay, let's just go to Mayu first. Let's go one by one here because this is like the deep end, I feel. So, uh, what was her name? Caitlin. So it's you
Caitlin, yeah.
and Caitlin and Nicole.
We also had a doula. So a
Okay.
doula. So Caitlin is a trained medical like midwife,
Okay.
who obviously understands the emotional and spiritual sides of it as well.
Uh-huh.
But then you have a doula, and to just kind of hold space in terms of the emotional aspect, because there's a lot of that, and so a lot of the time the doula is also there for the dad. It's just someone who's just like really strong, really knows what's how to hold space
Totally. And they've done it
emotionally.
before. They've
They've done
like
it obviously many times, and it's usually, it's a older woman who really just has a lot of love and can hold that. So we had Joy, who was our doula, who is incredible, absolutely incredible. She
both
also
times.
does both times. We thought it was Nicole's desire that I be the doula for the second birth, but getting closer to the time, I told her I feel like we're gonna need Joy, um, and
Sure.
we did end up needing, but Joy only came for one day in that whole 2.5 days.
Okay.
And she just came in and just worked magic for that day, because it was like we had gone 24 hours, and then Joy came in, and Caitlin told Joy like something needs to happen here because this is actually going on very long. And Joy just came in and did a massage for us, for Nicole, and it was this massive release that happened. And then, I mean, the birth still carried on for another 24 hours, but
Wow, man.
it did make a huge difference. Yeah.
So Mayu came out and Noah came out all good, like
Yeah.
healthy.
No problem at all.
And Nicole's like, I mean, she must have taken time to recover after those. Both births, obviously, but particularly the second one, I would imagine. But like, she's all
Actually,
good.
the second one was easier than the first.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you can imagine the conditioning that you have to overcome,
Right.
to become a mother after being, a single, not a single, yeah, like a girl, like a young woman on the scene, like for all these years, just having that identity, and now your whole identity is shifts. You have to rebirth. So that's why it's so empowering. That's why we have to allow the woman to guide it and to lead it, because she's rebirthing herself in that process. And if you come in and tell her what to do, you are kind of you're taking away from her rebirth. It's her process. So it was really difficult. The postpartum was quite hectic the first time. We were both now transitioning into parenthood, so it was like the mourning of my single self, of not non-parent Rome and Nicole. And it was like, yeah, it is a lot of sadness that you have to go through, and letting go of your freedom, it's freedom.
Yeah, sure, man. It's now you've got a child. It's like and this is the kind of thing as well. Like, I don't know when are humans ready to hear this kind of thing and understand it. I mean, I've had very few of these conversations, and maybe it's a reflection of me and my ignorance and my naivety, but like, I certainly haven't had conversations like this. My sister has got two nieces, but like, I don't know, maybe it's maybe it's a weakness, a blind spot for me, but it's like, I feel it's still though these conversations don't happen enough, It's like, I mean, it's powerful stuff, man. It's really powerful. It's incredibly humbling.
Conversations around the process that you have to go through.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it. Like,
yeah. It's a big process, and you're right. We had no idea either when we were jumping in. we had to find it out for ourselves. And because of that, I think now I've become an advocate to educate people and say, hey, this, like, there's an empowering way to do this. Like,
Yeah.
and don't be alone in it. Like, let's be together in this, you know, like, I'm here, you know.
And you know what
type
the
of thing.
craziest thing about it is? And there's a great joke by Bill Hicks. I'm not going to quote it because I don't want to kind of ruin this vibe, but um, people can check that out if they want. Bill Hicks, The Sanctity of Life. But um, it's like the most natural and somewhat common thing. Like, there are how many billion of us on the planet? You know what I mean? Like, it can, you know, some people are struggling to have children, and then like children are just being born like with the click of a finger.
Yeah.
And so it's like the most obvious thing, yet we don't talk about it that much. People aren't really prepared. People think it's just something you do. And I think, yeah, dude, I mean, as I'm having this conversation, I'm realizing, like I said, my own naivety, my own ignorance around it. But I think that's a global thing, man. I think we take the whole thing for granted. I really do. And I think people aren't prepared. I don't think people are
Yeah.
prepared for this whole process. And it's a massive, I mean, it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal.
It is. Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a big deal. You know, there's not much else to be said.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and if you think about it, it's the reason you were evolutionary. You're in your DNA. The biggest urge that you have is to actually procreate.
Yeah.
So whoever planted that seed, whoever created our DNA, or however that happened, like, it's like the driving force of creation that is like, make more humans and make
Yeah.
more, and we all have that, you know. Plants have it, animals have it, you know. We all just want to procreate. So, you know, it's powerful, and you do need to really, our education, I think, around it needs to be much better.
Much better, dude.
Much better.
Much better. And I think I like another little, maybe kind of a confession that I can make is, and maybe you had this, I don't know, a lot of guys I know and girls, I think because of this lack of experience, this lack of knowledge, this lack of guidance around all of it, around you know, having children, I used to really have a very, very strong belief of like, I'm never going to have kids. I'm never going to get married. Like, and I think it stemmed a bit again from that fear of like the unknown, the fear of like, I don't even know what this is. No one's really, and maybe I just needed to speak to my parents about it. You know, maybe it was just something as simple as that, but it's just like, yeah. And I just realized that belief was creating so many kind of false perceptions in my mind about life and about people and humanity and about myself. And it's not that I've flipped that and now I'm like, oh, I want to have kids and I want to get married, but I've just removed that limitation. You know, I've just said,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I never want to have kids, and I'm not saying I never want to get married, but I'm also saying, oh, I will have children and I will get married, because, you know, that's not guaranteed that I, you know, will definitely have children. Not, you know, but
I think
yeah.
you know, honestly, I was the same. I was
Mm,
the same, and I didn't want to get married. Definitely, I thought marriage was like, there was just something that seemed off about like the rules and things in the marriage. And I think it was just me rebelling against maybe my upbringing and schooling system and just rules in general. I was like, no, I don't want any of this. But and kids as well. Like, I'd thought about it, but I was like, I'm not interested in it. Like, it never piqued my interest. But only when I got into like a really soulful relationship could I really like feel like, oh, like there's something there, maybe to be explored. And around marriage, firstly, because I realized, oh, it's just about deep commitment. Like, and there's inside deep commitment, there is a freedom that
Totally.
you cannot have being single.
Yeah, for sure.
So, or in a polygamy, there wouldn't be that same deep freedom, emotional freedom with one person. So there's that, and then yeah. So eventually, I was like, hey, like I am okay with having kids, and this was before we fell pregnant. I was like, hey, I'm not like if I realized like if Nicole falls pregnant, I'm cool with that. I can deal with that. You know? So, and I did not knowing where it's going to go. But the one other thing I wanted to say was I think that the reason this happens is because of births in hospitals. And one of the big things is because of births in hospitals and how disempowering it is for moms.
Yeah, man. And like generally, I guess probably within private hospitals that it's a pretty expensive procedure, no? Isn't it? Like
yeah, I mean
I don't know.
like
I'm not sure.
What procedure isn't expensive?
Yeah. I'm just like,
but,
dude, because I'm just like, these mothers they're just on heavy drugs and like, no, this is what has to be done, you know, and because your life and the child's life is at risk. So just let us do our job. But it's like, you know, what did like, and of course people say, no, well, you know, people used to do it like that and the child would die. And it's like, yeah, okay, that did happen. But also, a lot of people were born naturally, and like we were made to do that. Like we were literally made to do that. Why has that become the natural and normal thing to do?
Yeah.
So you went quite deep into that rabbit hole. I mean, you went quite deep into that research and
I mean, not too deep. I just got a feeling about it. That's generally how I work. I don't go deep into the rabbit hole. I go a little bit because as soon as I start feeling anxious, I exit the rabbit hole and just like get a feeling on what I want, you know. So I checked it out, and I had already known because my family is in medicine, in Western medicine, and I had been studying medicine in China. I had been studying Western medicine, and I quit Western medicine. And that's when I started teaching kids. And I just knew like, hey, this hospital thing, it rubs me the wrong way, you know, and there has to be a better way. So I told myself. So I went searching for that. I didn't go deep into the thing, but then through that, like all this information started coming up. And Caitlin was actually, she was a director for this nonprofit organization called the Compassionate Birth Project. And she then approached me after Mayu's birth to become a facilitator for them. So we go into hospitals and we actually hold tutorials for the medical students in mindfulness, in breath work, in how to create a compassionate experience for the birth, for their moms, you know.
That's amazing.
So I've been doing that for the last 2 years, and that's been that I learned a lot more through obviously dealing with that and seeing what's happening, and actually seeing it in the hospitals and hearing it from the medical students saying what's happening, you know, how the moms are treated and how there's such a lack of compassion.
Dude, the trauma, man.
And then this trauma, exactly. So much trauma,
intense, dude.
And it just gets passed on to the students because they have to now watch that. So now they're traumatized. And then when they become doctors, they're really traumatized. So now they have to, it's just quite a vicious cycle there, you know. So we're trying to just like bring the self-care back into it for the doctors so that they can cope and hopefully eventually create a better experience for the mom.
So, you mentioned your dad's a doctor, and he kind of suggested to have a home birth and that he would do it. But so like, how was he supportive of the whole procedure? That like what your decision that you made?
There was some, oopsie, my bad. There was some resistance from my family. So my little sister's also a doctor, and my
Wow.
mom's a nurse,
Wow.
and my oldest sister is an occupational therapist. So
Whoa.
they're all like trained, scientifically and all of that. And obviously, me being the medical school dropout, decided to do things differently, and there was a bit of, but at that point because I had already dropped out of medical school, I had already like broken that thing of like trying to please them, trying to please my parents. I just was stepping more into authenticity, and it wasn't that difficult for me to say, I'm doing it my way, guys. Sorry, this is just what I believe. But he definitely just wanted to feel okay about the whole thing. So we let him in, and we let him have a conversation with the midwife and all of that, just so that he felt that she was ticking all the medical boxes, and that he felt like it was safe.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of things. There's many things that the medical world does, and even then there's the vaccination story and all of that, which is even bigger. I think it's even a bigger topic to try and navigate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So what did you guys? So yeah, because normally when kids are born in hospitals, they get all those jabs. I mean, I did. I'm sure you
yeah,
did.
so did
Probably
I.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did as well.
And
Yeah, there's like I think it's after 3 months, and then after 6 months, and then 1 year. You keep getting the vaccinations.
so is
There's like,
is that what you've done with Mayu, or you've done something else, and with Noah?
so we decided, we did our research with the vaccinations. We did
Uh-huh.
our research, spoke
Wow.
to a lot of people, spoke to people who had vaccinated, spoke to people who hadn't vaccinated, and came to the conclusion that it wasn't for us.
Wow.
And we focused on building immunes naturally. And honestly, Mayu doesn't even get sick much, and when she does, she bounces back within a day or two. And that's just what, once again, it's our beliefs, it's our way.
Sure, man. Yeah, totally.
I don't advocate. I'm not trying to say that anybody else doing it other ways is wrong, but because it's a sensitive topic, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who believe the
Particularly
opposite.
now.
Yeah. But I came to, for us, it was pretty obvious, is that we are born healthy. You're born healthy. And the earth is still a safe place to live. That's what I choose to believe, and that's it. And that means I don't need to vaccinate anybody.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah.
So just to maybe kind of explore that and what you mentioned earlier, and with your dad, what's your kind of dad's position on everything that's going on? Is he, and your whole family, like, are they, does he have his own practice, or is he work in the hospitals, or?
He has his own practice. My sister's in the hospitals. And yeah, I mean, he sees a lot of patients with COVID. He sends them for tests, and they do the whole thing. And he doesn't. I think there's waves of believing the hype and not believing the hype, and and I'm the rebel, obviously, in the family, and saying that, guys, like, I don't subscribe to this, and it's, it does cause conflict,
Sure.
a bit of conflict in my family, but we just respect each other and we love each other, so try to respect everyone's beliefs and not force anything onto each other. If that's they've come to I guess respect that we do things a certain way and that it's different.
Mm.
And but honestly, my dad then came, like, I think a year or so later, and said, he's so proud that we made the decision with regards to the vaccines, because he's done the research and he actually agrees now around vaccines. And because, I mean,
Wow.
there is research out there that
Yeah, sure.
points to us saying that, that they aren't necessarily the best thing for us. There's other ways of being healthy, of being being healthy and being safe and boosting your immune. That's the main
Mm-hmm.
thing, having a
Mm-hmm.
strong immune system. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
good ways of doing that.
Yeah.
So he actually came back, because he like there was a conversation with my family, and they all told me, you need to vaccinate. And I stuck to my belief at the time. And I think my dad was the only one, though, that has come back and said that
Interesting.
he respects it, because he feels I did the right thing.
Yeah. Dude, I would, I mean, I'm trying to remember the vaccines that, I've had, and like, I've been like super sickly in my life, like really weak immune system. I've only really, I would say, built my immune system up in the past, like the past 5 years. I just like always used to get sick. As soon as there was a flu, I would get sick. As soon as there was a cold, I would get sick. Like just super, super weak immune system, weak digestive system. And eventually I was just like, I need to do something about this. And I don't know, like if I didn't have a vaccine, would I have caught hepatitis and died? I don't know. I don't know, but I just know that I've been really sick in my life, and just taking as much control as you can around diet, around my state of my nervous system, my understanding of what my breath does, what movement does, sleep, rest, time in nature, all these things. And that's that. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on that in itself. But what I wanted to get to was, I recently did, well, not recently, it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was actually the time that I saw you last, maybe. I did my yellow fever vaccine.
Right.
Dude, I got so sick after that vaccine, like badly, man. For like over a week, I was man down with everything in bed, like just sick. And then I had to travel, and I struggled for the first couple of weeks while I was traveling. So I don't know, man. And with everything that's going on now, I personally, I don't think it's a belief necessarily, but I do feel that there is a virus. I don't doubt that, but how are we dealing with it? And I think that's super interesting. And of course, due to the way things are in the world, in terms of information and the internet and social media, just so many questions, not knowing what to believe. And I think at the end of the day, you can take so much into account, but really you've got to go with your intuition, like what feels like honest in the moment, otherwise you can just drive yourself absolutely crazy. So
Exactly. I think that was for me the biggest lesson, is just, I can't tell what's real in this whole thing, so I need to just develop my ability to read my own intuition, because that to me that is the intelligence of human energy.
sure.
That's the gift that we all have, and it works. No one can tell me that your intuition doesn't work, and we know it works. So I was just like, hey, this is the thing. Now it's just about intuition. I can't rely on anything else.
Sure.
and I had to go through that process with the birth thing as well. And luckily it's really stood me in good stead to be where we are now. And now you feel in control. Feel like you know what's happening because you know your intuition. It's inside, And yeah, as a parent, you have to develop that.
Sure.
It's so powerful.
And it's your direct experience, right? It's being present
Yeah.
in your direct experience. I feel like that's what a lot of intuition is, like being completely present in your situation, steering it as best as you can. And then, like you said, also, just like knowing that the unknown is always around the corner and that sometimes you're going to have to let go or surrender or adapt. So, but brother, I think this is a good time to, I don't know if that's a bird or one of your
No, it's crying. I actually
birds.
should go check if Nicole's all right there. Yeah.
But I think we covered good ground, and I really appreciate it. It's at least the beginning. We can do a follow-up one. There's so much to explore and digest, and I really, really appreciate you sharing. And I think this is something that is super important for men and women everywhere, man. Like,
yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for being open to talk about this, and
totally.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the rest of the unfolding.
Yeah, totally, man. Well, big love, brother. I'm maybe coming to the Cape in December, so we'll definitely hook up.
Sweet.
And lots of love.
Sweet, bro.
All right.
Lots of love, peace, and blessings to you.
Yeah, man.
And cool, man. I'll check to you soon.
Thank you.
Peace, brother.